Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Unsung Season 12, and this is the episode about Blue Magic. Man, I am so excited that they did this episode because I am a huge Blue Magic fan. I'm a singer, and they are definitely one of the groups that I used to listen to, and Ted Mills, oh my God, he has to be one of my favorite singers of all time. I mean, because I'm a high tenor too, so I used to always try to mimic his voice, especially singing "Spell" or "Look Me Up" or "Stop the Start." I mean, oh my God, "Chasing Rainbows." I mean, I love this group, and I am honestly happy that they have actually showcased them on Unsung because this they had to be one of the best groups of all time. And I have to say, if it wasn't for groups like Blue Magic, we would have never had New Edition. We would have never had Drew Hill or Boys to Men or some of these great boy bands that we love. Hell, even New Kids on the Block, for crying out loud. Blue Magic was like one of those groups that literally paved the way for a lot of artists, that are making strides today. And their story was very remarkable. I mean, they all came out of North and West Philly, and they were literally five boys from the ghetto who went from rags to riches, or or pretty much they went from rags to riches. But let's just say in some cases the riches wasn't what they were due, honestly. And also they've also had their trials and tribulations. So this episode definitely talked about that. But the one thing they could say about them, they were like the ultimate performers. I mean, not only were they great lyricists and singers, but then they were great dancers. I mean, shout out to Keith Beaton. I mean, he was a phenomenal choreographer, and he talks about it in this episode how he combined, the Temptations, Gladys Knight and the Pips and the Whispers, and he would combine all of these steps and would create steps within that. I mean, that just takes genius. That's genius and just pure artistic, artistic capability. And shout out to Keith Beaton because your dance steps definitely was something that grabbed me, especially when they showed it in the episode when they were doing start to start, and they kind of did that number when they go all the way down and they roll all the way up and then they go like this. I was like, y'all better do that shit. I was getting my life. Oh my goodness. So the members of Blue Magic was the lead singer Ted Mills, Keith Beaton, brothers Wendell and Vernon Sawyer, and Richard Pratt, who was the bass. And Keith actually shared that, around the time he first met them, his mom had died, and he was literally living in an abandoned house. And I think it was Wendell who actually took him under his wing, and he went to go stay with them, and but they didn't meet Ted till years down the line. But the four of them, Richard, Wendell, Keith, and Vernon, they all kind of grew up together, like in within Northwest Philly, and they were a group called the Shades of Love. Now Ted Mills, who I think he was discovered at Temple University. He was this phenomenal singer, and Ted, yes, anytime you hear Ted, it's like you melt. Like Ted just has that high tenor that just literally stops you dead in your tracks. And even for me, being a singer, he was definitely one singer that literally grabbed my attention. I mean, literally when I would hear Ted's voice, I'd be like, damn. Like, how does he do that? Like, his voice just takes me out, even to this day. Like, I just love hearing Ted's voice, and Ted still got it. Even after, his tragic, car accident that he was in, he still got the voice. And he was told that he would never sing again. And for a while, it took him a while to recover from that fatal accident, and thank God that, Ted is still here with us, and Ted just still has that gift. He still has the voice, and and the thing is with Ted had his own group. I think they were called like the Toppers or something like that. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. They were the ones who were backing him up, and the first song that he came out with was Spell, and they were on WMOT, which was a production company, which got them a deal with Atlantic. Shades of Love were also, they were also with WMOT as well. So what ended up happening is that Spell came out. He did it with, they pretty much changed his name, I think, from the Toppers to Blue Magic. That was, Ted Mills came up with that name. And the thing is, at first he said he was going to call them Black Magic, but because of the political environment at that time, pretty much the powerheads was like, well, we might not want to go there because you might get pigeonholed. So they thought about, the world, the sky, the water, blue magic, something that everybody can relate to. So the first song that came out was Spell. It came out in '72, and it went number 30 on the R&B charts. And let me say, oh my God, Ted Mills' voice on that song is just phenomenal. So you knew from there that was a voice you definitely wanted to hear more of, because the way he sings in that song is just so soothing and so beautiful. And the thing is, and what ended up happening was that how Shades of Love ended up becoming a part of Blue Magic was that the guys that he recorded it with, they didn't want to go on tour. They were much older guys. One of them, I think, had like a 9 to 5, and he didn't want to go on tour, and he had a family and all of that. So what ended up happening is that they merged the old guys, with the guys from Shades of Love, and they became Blue Magic, and it became a totally different group because all 5 of these guys could sing. All 5 of them can do lead. But Ted Mills was pretty much like the main lead singer or the lead singer, but yet it became even more of a dynamic because you had all of these different voices that will sometimes sing lead or will have parts along with Ted, so it created a totally different sound. And then you had like this, one of these, also another favorite track of mine from them is Look Me Up. Love that, definitely love the intro. Dun 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 dun. Like, oh my God, it's just like when I would actually watch them on Soul Train on YouTube and seeing them do the dance steps, I was like, they are getting it. I am not mad at that. And it's great because even as of now, they still inspire me. They still move me. They still excite me. Because this was one of the groups that helped put the Philly sound on the map. I mean, they pretty much were some of the originators of the Philly sound. And still to this day, they're still one of the highest regarded Philly acts in Philadelphia. So they definitely deserve that because these guys were amazing. And then they even said that Ted Mills was actually the worst dancer. He had like 2 left feet. But hey, Ted had those golden pipes though. but he got the choreography eventually. But they said that he was the worst one out of the 5. And then he was saying that due to the fact that they were getting their success was literally like that. I mean, Stale happened, and then they became a very well-known. They became one of the headlining acts in Philly. And then there was this guy who was like a radio personality. I think his name was Georgie Willis. He was saying that a lot of artists, pretty much hateration that he was kind of spilling at them because he was saying that a lot of these black artists got to do the Chitlin circuit, but you guys went to the top. I don't like you because you didn't pay your dues. And then another person who was hating on them was none other than Ike Turner. I didn't like the fact that they kept chanting Blue Magic. They got tired of Ike being on stage, And they kept chatting Blue Magic. So what he would do is that, I think at first they had 30 minutes. They had a 30-minute set, but then he kept cutting their time down, so eventually he fired them. And while this happened, they were on tour in England. But he's like, I'll put you guys up in a hotel or whatever, but nah, y'all can't be on set with me anymore. So they kind of laughed at it, because it was like, yeah, we didn't get kicked off the tour because we were bad. We got kicked off the tour because we were great. So I was just like, wow, that is crazy. But, yeah, so they definitely said that they had their share of haters, but they didn't let that stop them. And then another one of my songs that they talk about is Stop the Start. A beautiful song. I mean, just that beginning intro just grabs you. Like, I mean, it's like even when I first heard that song, it literally, I forgot what the hell I was doing, but as soon as I heard that, I did not move, and I did not move until that whole song was over. It's just something about that song. It's so melodic and so rich that it literally stops you dead in your tracks. And that's a song that Wendell also sings along with Ted. So Wendell with his baritone working with Ted, and that was a great hit because it hit the top 20. And the thing about it, they were actually, the greatest thing about them is that they represented love. They represented universal love. Learning to, and well, pretty much that love is universal. So they were some of the pioneers of this love music. I mean, I can pretty much say a lot of babies were conceived, with Blue Magic playing in the background. And I don't say that jokingly. I say that because that's the real. I mean, hey, I was pretty much kind of an old soul growing up, so I was listening to Blue Magic, the OJs, and all that at a very early age. And the funny thing about it, I liked music from, the 60s and 70s more than I liked the music of my generation, which was crazy. But then they also talked about, how they were kind of doing their thing on the road, and, Richard had an issue because he was married, and he got married young, and the marriage ended abruptly because, he got caught up in the lifestyle, and definitely got caught up with the women. So, and they said that hell, they had women, sometimes like 4 or 5 in the hotel room, so they was doing the damn thing. Hey, I ain't knocking it. But one thing that they definitely said is that during the time, definitely during the 70s, and everybody was doing drugs, and they got caught up in the drug scene. They definitely got caught up with drugs, and they said that, to not do drugs back then, you were considered unhip, or more like, what the hell is wrong with you? Because everybody was getting high. They were saying that hell, producers, record executives, corporate heads, they were all doing cocaine, and were doing it right in open space, right? And they said that not being on drugs was kind of unheard of. And we can also say the same thing that also happened in the 80s, because a lot of these 80s acts got caught up in that. So yeah, they pretty much said that everybody in the game was doing it. So we got caught up in that, and it definitely took us down. It took a bad turn for us. And then they talk about one of their biggest songs, and the song that they are most known for is Sideshow, and it was written by by Bobby Ali and Vinnie Barrett and James. I put James Holliday, but I don't think that's his name. Correct me in the comments with that one. But Sideshow is definitely one song that they are known for. I mean, I can't even count how many times I've heard Sideshow, on the radio, on CD, because I even have it on a CD. As a matter of fact, I think I have a few CDs where I have a lot of Blue Magic's, music that I listen to, on a regular basis. So, but Sideshow was like their biggest hit, and it went number one R&B, it went number 8 pop, and the album that it was on went gold. So that pretty much gave them a newer audience. They became mainstream. And they even said that, Mick Jagger was actually a fan of Blue Magic, and, he wanted them to actually do a song with him and the Rolling Stones, called Do You Really Want to Be My Friend? And they actually did background for it. So they said they were honored that, that Nick actually came to them and actually, wanted to work with them. So that was groundbreaking. That you even got the Rolling Stones that wanted to work with Blue Magic. So that these guys were smoking, and that they had something big, and that what they had was innovative. It was innovative. It was hot. It was out of this world. And it was brand new. It was something that wasn't out there. And these guys were phenomenal. With Ted Mills, leading the pack. I mean, you couldn't go wrong with that. I mean, with that voice, and then with all these other voices, and they all can hold their own. I mean, they were kind of like, they could stand, and they were like standing toe to toe with the Temptations, the Spinners. I mean, they were on tour with these guys, sharing the headlines. So they were doing big things. But then they actually talk about a really troubling situation that happened, and it really stuck out to me, because they actually talk about once when they were pulled over, and they were actually, they were pretty much brutalized by the police. Keith actually talks about he got hit in the head with a shotgun, and was kind of like knocked out. And they made them land on the ground, and it was cold outside, and they literally were racially profiled. They tore up their luggage, tore the seats out, and pretty much it was all due to the fact that supposedly somebody at this restaurant said that that they robbed them. And they were literally treated less than inhumane, and it really grabbed me to my heart, because it definitely made me think about, that scene in the 5 Heartbeats when they were stopped by the police, and they were they pretty much, stripped, their car, and, threw their luggage out on the road and everything, and then asked them to sing. So literally was, mocking them and making fun of them. One, because they were black, but because they had badges, they can get away with the bullshit. And they actually talked about how these policemen literally brutalized them for hours, even made them walk to the station, which was like a mile away in the cold. And they put him when they brought them in, they told them they can get one phone call. They ended up calling Atlantic Records, and then they said that I think like the sheriff had said that, what? Oh my God, you guys are Blue Magic? Oh my God, my daughter has your album. What are you guys doing here? So really, that whole situation was spurned by racism and hatred, and they actually sued. Sued the police department, and 2 of the officers were fired, and they pretty much settled outside of court. So big ups for them, because they actually were a great representation that we as people have to fight back against this brutality. We do not have to take it lying down, and that there is a way of fighting them. Fight them through the courts, and which is why I stress everyone, because I'm an associate, a senior associate with Legal Shield and ID Shield, which is giving people legal coverage at the touch of a finger. It's an app that you get on your phone, and you can always access an attorney at any given moment. And I'm definitely wanting to share this, because we as a people definitely need to make sure we get legal coverage, and that we actually get the understanding that it's not that the law doesn't work. It's the fact that most people don't have access to it. And for a long time, African Americans did not have access to the law. But now we're in a new space where we do. So I am encouraging everyone to get access to the law and actually get, coverage, and make sure that you and your family can have your rights and liberties protected. So, but definitely check out my website. I actually have my Legal Shield and ID Shield website, located in the description box. So definitely check that out. So then therefore that story, that part really moved me, and it really grabbed my attention. They also talk about, on their third album, they had the song Chasing Rainbows, which is a beautiful song. I mean, Ted Mills sung his face off on that song, and I think it really was a personal song to him, because it was about somebody that he knew that died in a fire. And, and he was just devastated by it, because he said people were kind of like nonchalantly talking about it, but for him, it was just a deep thing that just wouldn't leave him, and he developed a beautiful song out of it, and it went top 20, and then also the album went to the top 10 as well. So they had this glorious rise, where they literally went from being obscurity to being on the top of the charts to being one of the main draws in R&B. And slowly but surely, things went left. One thing they found out is that, the production company that they were under, WMOT, they weren't paying them royalties, because Atlantic pretty much was issuing out the money, but they pretty much had, but pretty much the production company, WMOT, had power of attorney, so they pretty much was picking up the money and everything. They pretty much was handling the money, but none of that money got trickled down to them. So pretty much they've all should have been millionaires, but yet they weren't getting their royalties, and they were saying that, hey, somebody's getting the money, but it wasn't us. And we've definitely heard this story before, how a lot of great talented artists get railroaded by the music industry. And they pretty much, definitely shared that this also happened to them. And they pretty much, fired WMOT and ended up getting new management. And they said when they was they was actually on the way to actually, handle some business, where Wendell and Rick got into a fight, and Rick pretty much knocked Wendell out, and he had to go to the hospital. And pretty much, they were saying that we're gonna put Wendell out the group. Well, Vernon was like, look, well, if Wendell ain't gonna be in the group, I'm not gonna be in the group. That's my brother, so that ain't going down. So they ended up hiring 2 new people and letting the brothers go, but they ended up coming back. And then pretty much, they pretty much had to deal with the fact that the sound of music was changing. You had the rise of disco, so that, Philly soul R&B wasn't the main draw anymore. So a lot of the projects that they were coming out with wasn't really, hitting the charts. And in 1982, Richard Pratt left, and it blew all of them away, because they didn't even see it coming. But he explained that, everything was changing. The music was changing. The management was changing. Like nothing wasn't right, and it just wasn't the same. And then they talk about in 1989, they actually signed with Russell Simmons, R&B label, but because of drugs and drinking and everything, that deal got messed up, and Russell Simmons ended up dropping them. Because Russell was a big fan of Blue Magic, and he wanted to help give them, a new lane, but they said that we screwed that up because of the drugs and drinking, we just didn't have it together. And then, sadly, 1990 is when Ted Mills had his car accident where he almost died and he couldn't perform. So, the guys kind of went on without him, and like for years, I think since 82, they hadn't really been together, all five as a group. And they've even had different, groups of Blue Magic. I think like 3 different groups of Blue Magic with different people. Some with old, some with, with an old member, but then a lot of new faces. So, it was like, they kind of explained that it was like each member had their own group of Blue Magic. And, we haven't, as a collective, been together for 30 years. But Unsung created this vehicle where they all got together after 30 years. And that was everything, because they didn't miss a beat. They said we haven't seen each other for a long time, but we all have a spiritual connection. He's saying that, look, we may be different personalities, but loving each other has never been an issue. And I thought that was very powerful that Ted said that. So this was a great episode. That's what I have. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description. Box. And also check out my website for Legal Shield and ID Shield. Definitely get legal coverage as well as protection from identity theft today. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Unsung. So until next time, everybody, take care.